Today, I want to talk about a season that I feel like doesn't get talked about a lot, or at least not on the internet. I'm sure we probably talk about it with our girlfriend groups or in the group chat, but it's that season between who you were and who you are becoming, and why that season feels so uncomfortable, particularly for women like you, like me, who identify as being ambitious, a high achiever, a overachiever, very goal oriented, goal focused. Why this middle part feels so uncomfortable, and how do we navigate through this middle season, particularly after you've made some type of big leap or life change? That might be leaving a corporate career like I did, uh, closing a business, having a relationship shift, maybe going through a divorce, just any major life event. And this middle section, because of course, I'm going to use work for example. You don't leave the toxic job or the job you burnt out in or the job just that was no longer aligned and jump into your dream life. There's this middle section where you are figuring it out, where you are becoming who you desire, because I'm sure you, ambitious woman, you have your vision for where you want to go. You are definitely taking the steps to get to that vision. However, you don't just get there overnight. Becoming takes time, especially when you're doing it intentionally and you're not in a season of trying to rush. Also, we are very attached to our identities, and there's nothing wrong with that, and it's no it's no fault of yours or mine, especially when certain identities, rooted in perfectionism or overachieving or ambition or high achieving, when those identities are deeply rooted in you, they become that space becomes starts to feel unstable when you are navigating a middle section, especially when those identities no longer align with who you desire to become, or you want to reimagine or redesign what those identities may mean for you in this new season of your life. So for me, I've reimagined what ambition looks like for me, and it's something that I'm encouraging other ambitious women who identify as ambitious, high achiever, over recovering perfectionist, to start to reimagine what your relationship with ambition looks like. For me, I was in corporate leadership. I mean, we did all the right things. I went to college, got a degree, went to graduate school, got the good corporate job, moved up the ladder, blah, blah, blah. Until one day I woke up burnt out, 60 pounds overweight, and like, who put me in this life? Because how did I even get here? And I left that job, took almost a 1 year sabbatical just to really heal, get clear on how I wanted to live my life outside of what society, my parents, the world told me I should do or should be, and just really got clear on that. So my ambition did not go away. I am still ambitious. What is different now is that I am not willing to sacrifice myself, my health, my well being for the ambition. The ambition looks more sustainable these days. I call it easeful ambition. And what that just means is just moving toward your goals, your vision, your desires in a way that is extremely intentional. You're focused on a few top priorities. you're in alignment with what that is, that feels good in your body, and you're making very intentional, clear movements toward what your desires are, instead of just that old identity of how much can I do? How much can I go? How fast can I go? How many things can I take with me? How much more can I build this team? How many more people can I lead? How many more businesses can I build? It's just being extremely intentional on, yeah, I want to continue to grow. I want to continue to build. I want to continue to do good, meaningful work. I still want to help people, but I'm no longer willing to do all those things at the cost of my health, my well being, or my identity. So, again, when we're in this middle space, your your ambition doesn't disappear. I would think of this middle part, even though it feels very uncomfortable, as not something like you're failing at or you're not doing well at. I would think, especially if you came from like a corporate background, I would think of this middle season as like a reorg or like a redesign of your life. Like you're in a season of where you're making intentional decisions on where you want to go next. And I know that it feels a little shaky, a little uncomfortable, because it does for me as well. But I am laser focused on what I am being called to do in this season. And although I am in this middle point, I am using my bridge job, the job that I am in while I'm building what I desire, to fund what my desires are. I funded my book project last year, and I'm using it to fund the business that I'm building. So it's almost like a reframe. Yes, this is a middle part. Yeah, this is uncomfortable, but how can we look at this as moving us to our next desire, our next goal, to the next thing that we're building? So if you feel like you're in one of these types of middle ground, middle areas, a bridge season, I have some questions that maybe you could sit with to help you process or just better feel a little bit more comfortable as you're in this bridge season and you're moving forward to what you desire. The first question is, what part of my old identity am I still carrying out of habit? Girl, if you're anything like me, one thing we like as recovering perfectionists, ambitious, high achieving, is a habit or some type of a routine. So, is that identity that maybe you're hanging on to out of geez, out of habit? Is it just habit? The next question, what is quietly trying to emerge from you in this season? And I know sometimes that's hard to like really sit with those types of questions, but that's when you get the best answers, when you just like, normally when I'm sitting here recording the videos, I have my feet crossed and I'm cozy with my cozy socks on, but I just came from a long walk. And I often ponder these kind of questions when I'm walking, because I feel like when I walk, I have like the best ideas. They're like the best like brainstorming sessions. So maybe these are some questions that you can just ask yourself when you're out on your daily walk or run or whatever ways that you kind of move your body or have any quiet time. And you can also ask yourself, where am I pressuring myself to have the answers too soon? See, that one got me, and I was like, I have to share this question because that's something that I constantly have to ask myself, because I feel like us as ambitious women, we are always tempted to rush, especially if you're an overachiever, a high achiever, to rush to get things done, because we've been rewarded for that type of behavior in the past. We've been rewarded, we've been validated, we've been given bonuses, we've been given raises, we've been given more responsibilities. When we rush, when we do the most, and it's very tempted to do that. So asking yourself, let me read it exactly. Where am I pressuring myself to have the answers too soon? That is a good one because it's a question that I continuously have to ask myself, because in this middle season we don't have all the answers, and a lot of us in our professional careers, I'm sure you can relate. If you can, let me know in the comments. But you are used to having all the answers. You are used to people coming to you for the answers, and in this middle ground, you don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. So sometimes you just have to sit with that and process that and not try to move too quickly and rush into that next season, because God will continue to give you the lesson over and over and over again if you don't learn from it. So take it from me, do not try to rush yourself out of this middle season. Continue to make intentional, aligned decisions. And what I found too is, excuse me, what I have found is, for me, clarity comes when I take action. Even if it's just one or two small steps, I get clearer when I take actions. A lot of people feel like clarity comes from continuing to reflect, continuing to plan, continuing to just sit on it. For me, clarity comes with action. And I don't mean jumping all the way to step 10. Sometimes you just need to go step 1 and 2. And then when you finish that second step, the data that you've received from step 1 and 2 will then direct you on where you should go. You know, um, that's a good one, because we often, I'm just thinking to myself, and like I said, I still have to catch myself in doing this, trying to rush past the middle point because we're just so used to having it all together. And it's okay to not have it all together, especially when you're being intentional about moving to the next goal, to the next job, building a business, because you want to make sure that you're doing this with care and intention, and that it is aligned for the season that you want to go in next. So if you're in a middle season, you're okay. You're gonna move out of it. It is only a season. But while you're here, make the most of it. Make the most of who you're becoming. Don't try to rush too fast towards where you're going. I remember, just a really quick story. It just came to me. I remember taking on an assignment for a project that I was on. It was like a side project. And I was super excited about the side project. And instead of what I'm just telling you, instead of taking my time to go through all of the steps, I rushed through it. And here's the thing with ambitious and overachievers, we normally exceed expectations. So the project turned out well, but in my mind and in my heart, it was not my best work. You know what I mean? And that was a lesson that I still hold with me. That's why it just really came to mind. And just sometimes, if I could give my younger self any, if I could just go back in time and tap her on the shoulder, it would be slow down. Slow down, because we are always trying to rush into the next. And ultimately, where are we rushing to? So enjoy this middle place in the woman that you're becoming, in the way that you're reimagining, redefining, reworking your relationship with ambition. I can't believe we're already at day 7. I've done 7 of these videos in a row. And I'm on a challenge to do 100 daily conversations. So if you're listening to this one, I hope you listen to days 1 through 7. And I hope you stay with me on the journey. I'm Erica Prevail, and I share daily conversations for ambitious women, helping them rework their relationship with ambition, capacity, rest, and creativity. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.